All right, so today we read Genesis chapters 18 through 20. And just like our prior readings, so much going on in just these few chapters. Um, so in chapter 18, um, there was a very, funny situation. Um, the Lord came and visited Abraham and promised that by that time next year that Sarah was going to have a child. And I just thought that was the whole situation. The conversations were funny. And then we see a beautiful promise. The Lord promised that He would never destroy a place for the sake of people in it who are righteous. And I think that's the first hint of um, biblical indications of um, the theology around the rapture. So that's interesting. And then in chapter 19, um, in this version of the Bible, it's not as, I guess, clear some of these things because of the language. This is interpreted by Noah Webster from the King James Version, and he took away some of the crude language to kind of clean it up. Um, and it is nicer, I think, to read, but it's a little harder to interpret the situation. For example, in chapter 18, um, I know this is the part where they say by this time next year that Sarah will be with child. And the way that the way that it's stated in here, it just says by the time of life. So I guess that means by this time next year, which is interesting. And then the story when the angels come to Sodom. I do like how it doesn't use as crude of language, but in the other text, it does say that they're trying to sleep with them. So um, that's a not really a fun scene to imagine. And then with Lot's the decisions that Lot's daughters make are not good either. So just following the theme of the Bible of God still using people who are not making good choices that He agrees with. We see that again in chapter 20 when Abraham continues to lie and say, well, I guess technically he's not lying because Sarah is his sister, but not being forthcoming about the fact that Sarah is his wife repeatedly when they're traveling. Um, so, I guess he's doing that out of fear and not trusting God's protection, which, that's not a good choice. That's not something that God wants us to do, but God still uses him even in his human brokenness and him not always making perfect choices. So really beautiful, inspiring story. Looking forward to continuing our study through Genesis. Thank you for joining, and would love to hear if you had any other takeaways from our reading today or any comments if you're inclined to comment. Thank you so much.